Hello and welcome to a Halloween edition of Sports Bar. I'm your host, Travis Stanley, and I am joined by your panelists, Sam, Braxton, and Greg. We have a spooktacular show for you today here on Halloween. And this past Thursday, we faced our rivals, the Georgia Southern Eagles. And they must have felt the Halloween air at their stadium because the Mountaineers came out on top and scared them off with a great victory of 34-10. Guys, that game was, like I mentioned, a Thursday night game, nationally televised on ESPNU. 34-10 was the final score, but there in that first half, it was pretty touch and go. Ended up being 10-10 at the half after bringing each team out back onto the field to end the first half 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
So first, what was your impressions of that officiating, and then also just your impressions of the game? Cox, this was his first game back, had a touchdown and ran for 115. So Braxton, those 2 things, how'd you feel?
Well, the end of the half was just bizarre. This is not something you see very often. But as far as seeing App State, you said scare Georgia Southern off the field. Well, it seemed to me like App State was kind of scared to begin the game. They made several mistakes they don't normally do. But then as soon as they got those things sorted out, it went the direction that most games go for App State. They just dominated the ball in every aspect they possibly could and took the game pretty handily at that point. Yeah,
certainly maybe some nerves because even though Georgia Southern has not had the same caliber of season this year that they usually are, usually have, that's still your rival. And after ASU didn't win the Sun Belt, conference last year, there's a lot of pressure, for them to finish this year what they started last year. Greg had, same question.
I think it shows that App continues to dominate in conference play. I mean, that initial start, I think you're right. I think there were some nerves going on there. I think they did get a little scared. They're going to lose, and they, there's no motivation like a very clear chance of losing. And it ended up being a great game for a number of players. I think Cox did a great job on the field. That was Moore's 5th consecutive straight 100-yard game. Cox is now 2nd place in App's career rushing list thanks to how he did on that game. So, I mean, it just is testament to just how well those players ended up playing, particularly the second half.
Yeah, he passed John Settle, who had a pretty decent NFL career as well. So he will most likely pass Kevin Richardson, barring another injury. So knock on wood. Sam?
Yeah, I think when they came out at the game, they were playing a little hesitantly. Georgia Southern gave them troubles in the first half, but after the bizarre ending, I think they were able to start to control. Really, they control the pace of the game, which is what App tries to do with their running game because it is so dominant. So they started to control the pace of the game, and then after that, the defense locked it down. Taylor Lamb played well for himself. Didn't make any huge mistakes. Other than the fumble return for a touchdown at the beginning of the game, App played a pretty mistake-free game, and I think that's what you're looking for moving forward in conference play.
And that's certainly not something you see very often.
Right.
A blocked field goal ran back for touchdown.
It wasn't even blocked. It was just mishandled. The snap was too early.
Yeah, exactly.
He wasn't even ready.
Exactly. And Rubino, I thought he was going to make that tackle, but he was able to shake him off there about the 35, and then it was just a foot race.
Yeah, kickers trying to make arm tackles don't go very well.
Yeah. Well, Michael's a pretty big guy, so I thought he had a chance. But yeah. But anyway, so I think definitely the biggest game obviously coming up for App will be that Troy game. That'll be the test, and really, in my opinion, that'll be what ultimately decides the Sun Belt Conference in football. So we'll see, and certainly there's a lot more exciting at football.
Yeah, that was an overtime game last year.
Yeah. And one last thing, we're now bowl eligible after that, right?
Yeah.
So even if we don't win the conference, we still know that there is postseason football ahead of Mountaineers.
And this two-headed monster we have now back at the running back position is going to be really difficult to defend. And with Taylor Lamb playing well at this point now, we got 2 solid running backs. It's going to be tough for anybody.
Yeah, should pay dividends, particularly fourth quarters, possibly in that bowl game. Right. We saw that last year. Transitioning to field hockey, the App State women's field hockey team faced some ghouls at Chapel Hill this past weekend. This game was featured on the ACC network and also Watch ESPN. The Lady Mountaineers did fall, however, 9-1 against the number 5 UNC Tar Heels, also the defending champions for field hockey. So there's not necessarily a surprise that they lost there, but it definitely was a marquee game where it mentioned it was on the ACC network. It was also Watch ESPN, obviously predominantly because they were playing UNC. But this was a game where they could, say, oh, how did we match up against potentially the best program in the nation for the sport? And 9-1. Obviously, it shows, Greg, that there is some room for improvement there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that this has been a great season for the women's field hockey team. But I think that we saw some promising signs. I mean, the score is evident of what we saw on the field. I mean, UNC just dominated the ball. And when you dominate the ball like that, there's not a ton that the defense can do. The offense just didn't have the ball enough. It's just that simple. So Rachel Gaines, I mean, she had an incredible game as goalkeeper. She had 13 saves. That's her second best of the season. But when the opposing offense has control of the ball, there's only so many times you can block. Mm-hmm. And I think for looking forward in future seasons, that's something they've got to tighten up. They've got to tighten up the offense.
Yeah, and just like any other program here at ASU athletically, that is a program that they're trying to build up. They've invested more in field hockey as far as facilities, much like they've done with volleyball. And even baseball to a lesser extent, of recent. So I know for a fact that they want it trending upward, and this kind of game is somewhat sobering for realizing exactly where the program stands.
Yeah.
But we will be right back after this with a preview of this week's Rise Clip.
Mountaineers show blitz. They rush 4. Ellison throws it out to the flats. Fields catches and hit and drop. Play fake. Land's going to throw on first down all day. Now scrambles out to the left. In trouble. Gets rid of it down the left sideline. Metters goes up. Tries to bring it down. Did he catch it along the sideline? He did. Shotgun snap. It's an option by Taylor Lamb to the left. Lamb's going to keep it. Breaks a tackle at the 5. Stretches forward. And that's an App State touchdown for Taylor Lamb. 2nd and 10 from the 20 of Georgia Southern after the interception. Schumann pressured. Fuller comes to get him and brings him down. All the way back at the 8-yard line. There's the first sack of the game. A drop pass and a sack. It's 3rd and 20 from the 10 for Georgia Southern. Schumann's going to try to throw on 3rd down. They come to get him again. Pass thrown, intercepted. Eric Boggs at the 31 and dropped at the 29. There's the first turnover for the Mountaineer defense. Shotgun on 3rd and 15. Lamb's got it. Steps up. Has time. Spins away from pressure. Staying on his feet. Fires on the run. Metters comes in. Makes the catch at the 17-yard line. Pritchard ready for the snap, gets this one down. Rubino puts it airborne. It is up, and it is good. Schumann's back to throw. That's A.J. Howard's first pick of the year, and the Mountaineers get it right back near midfield. Hopkins in motion as Lamb goes back to throw. Sets, fires right. Coming back for it, Metters brings it in at the 31. Play fake on the read option. Taylor Lamb keeps it to the 20. Lamb on his feet to the 15. Taylor down the right sideline. Dives forward. And that's an App State touchdown for Taylor Lamb. 4th and 1. Mountaineers going for it from the 12. Option right. Lamb pitches late over the top of the defense to Cox to the 10. Marcus to the 5. Welcome back, Marcus Cox. That's an App State touchdown from 12 yards out. 2nd down and 7. Here comes the blitz from the right side. Ellison flush to the left. Flag is down as he throws on the run. Duck along the sideline. Makes the interception. Clifton Duck picks it off. His 5th of the year. 3rd pick of the game for the Mountaineer defense. There goes Marcus again. Great cut at the 40. Stays on his feet midfield. It's a foot race for Marcus down to the 30, and he's chased down from behind. Both of them over 100 yards tonight. Moore, handoff up the middle. Huge hole to the 10. Jalen to the 5. Jalen Moore scores. That's an App State touchdown for Jalen Moore. And App State delivers the final knockout punch to the Georgia Southern Eagles.
Keep up to date with the Black and Gold on and off the field by following the Mountaineers on Twitter at @AppState_FB.
Welcome back to our Batty edition of Sports Bar, and we're going to howl on in to Major League Baseball. Guys,
these puns.
the Cubs,
Oh my
the Cubs and the Indians right now are 3-2 with Cleveland leading. And going into Game 5, that was a game for the Cubs where if they don't come out and perform, the series is over. Lester came out, pitched a great game. Braxton, what do you think has allowed both teams? Because obviously they both had success to this point, but when one didn't have success, what was the reason that they were having success, in your opinion?
The Indians just are capitalizing on every single Cubs mistake. I mean, the Cubs haven't made a ton of mistakes, but every time they do, the Indians have really punished them with it. And then the Cubs have only won 2 games, and last night was the best game that they've won. But the 5 or 6-0 the first time, it's just their offense. When it finally gets going, the Cubs' offense is good, but it's just so stagnant and inconsistent right now. The Indians are really hurting them for that reason, and that's why they're up 3-2 right now.
Yeah.
I think the infield for both teams has played pretty spectacularly, which has made it hard for anybody to score. But, like Braxton said, there have been some mistakes the Cubs have made, and the Indians have been able to capitalize on it. I think the odds are probably a bit against the Cubs at this point. There hasn't been a team that's come from a 3-1 deficit, which the Cubs were on Friday, since 1985. That was the Royals. So there's not many.
The Cardinals?
Against the Cardinals? I think it was the Royals, 1985.
Okay.
Yeah. So there haven't been too many teams that have been able to do that. That said, the Cubs, I think, used their ace reliever Chapman to great effect last night. And, I mean, he played 3 times more than he typically does, and he played spectacularly. I think if we could see more of that, I think the Cubs might be a road to making some inroads.
And you see that kind of thing in the playoffs, obviously more often than you would in the regular season, where you have guys who maybe they're the setup man, or maybe they are the long reliever, whatever they are, and once the playoff hits, if they're the hot hand, you're gonna have extended innings, for one reason or another.
Yeah, they don't. Managers just don't take chances. For sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have the luxury, particularly not the Cubs being down 3-1
No.
in the World Series. But Sam?
Yeah, I think what you saw last night from the Cubs, John Lester pitched a great game. I think the Indians did just about everything they could to get back into it after that. You could consider it a disastrous, I think it was the 4th inning. I think they were lucky to get out of it with only the 3 runs, with only being down by two runs at that point. But I think you saw the Cubs finally capitalized on the opportunities they were given. Last week, I think I kind of threw down the gauntlet and said that the Cubs' success was going to hinge on Addison Russell, and he came through last night with a couple RBIs and things like that. So finally, the Cubs were starting to get some production from the bottom third of their batting order. So I think the Cubs bats finally came to life there in this game. I don't know that'll carry over back now that we're moving back to Cleveland for that game tomorrow night on Tuesday. I don't know if that'll carry over. You'd like to think that it would. The Cubs send Jake Arrieta out for that game, so you're going to have good pitching. But overall, it was just a fun game to watch. The Indians taking advantage of John Lester's complete inability to throw to first base. Roger Davis, I think he had 3 stolen bases, and he's 30-some years old now. So it's just...
Yeah, having been a Red Sox fan for a long time and watching him play for the Sox, it's definitely a head thing.
He would step off, and Roger Davis would take 1 step back to the bag.
No one's buying it.
Yeah,
no one's buying it.
He's not going to throw over there.
And you see, for the Cubs, they play really tight as a group to begin the game. They're not sure how to begin. In the regular season, they were always ready to play. But here in the postseason, it takes 1 hit, 2 hits to string together to get them moving in the right direction. So it's gonna take that for them to be able to do that in Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I think for Cleveland, it certainly has been a surprise. And moving from one surprise to another, the 1-5 Panthers, or at least that's what they entered yesterday, as they played the Cardinals. They were able to pull out a victory 30-20 after being very dominant early in the game. They were up at one point 24-7. So in my opinion, it was the difference in the front four's ability to get to the quarterback without the need for sending a blitzer off the edge, or even a free safety at some point. So I know you guys watched that game. Can they repeat this same formula week in and week out to get back to respectability? And who knows what the wild card situation is going to look like at the end of the season, and possibly even put their name in that hat.
That's a good question, Travis. I mean, I think what we definitely saw. We definitely saw the ghost of last season. Yeah. Because it was they played much more like the team we were familiar with last season. To put it in perspective, they've had 12 sacks the entire rest of the season, and they had 8 alone yesterday, which is just incredible for any team to make that sort of a difference in their play structure. As to whether or not they can keep that up, I think that's the question that's going to decide how they proceed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the defensive line definitely had probably the biggest impact on the game, but this entire the start of the season going 1-5, this isn't the Panthers we're used to. This isn't the Super Bowl or the NFC winning Panthers of last year. But I think what we got back to was the Panthers of old. With this past game, everybody seemed to be clicking. The secondary still could use some work, but Cam was making good decisions. The passing game was there. The running game was there. The defensive line was there. Graham Gano was actually making kicks when he needed to. So I think they can look forward to seeing similar success. Whether they can rally from being 1-5 to They won the conference a couple years ago with a losing record or at 500. So
7-8-1.
Yeah. So you never know. I personally don't know if they will make it into the playoffs, but this is definitely a good sign. Having it been such a dismal season so far.
Yeah, the brand of football they played yesterday against the Cardinals is the kind of football they'll have to play if they do expect.
It's the kind of football that Dave Gettleman was trying to get from the team when he basically got rid of the secondary.
Yeah.
This is the way they're going to have to play. The front seven, in my opinion, was the reason they won the game yesterday. If you look at the season as it goes from now on, I forgot what else I was going to say there, but the teams they play, the defenses they play,
They've played some stiff opponents.
Well,
to this
from here until the end of the season, the defenses they play, you should expect to see at least 20 to 30 points from the offense. That should be reliable. The secondary is the most unreliable thing on the defense. So the front seven, in order for them to win, has to produce like they did yesterday. And if they do, they have a good shot because the offenses were pretty reliable. They have been to this point in the season. It's had won games because of the defense. So if the defense, front seven that is, can play like they did yesterday and kind of feel what the back four is not doing, then they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And we'll see. In my opinion, having Stewart running well, that was a good sign. And I would like to, not only Stewart, but obviously his offensive line, depending on what week it is, they want to run block some weeks and not others. So definitely an outside chance to possibly make the playoffs. But I would just like to see, improvement week in and week out.
It's possible if they play like they did yesterday. It's possible you're looking at 9-5. If they play like that the rest of the year, you'd probably lose to maybe the Seahawks and maybe one of their teams. So you may be looking at 9-5, 8-6 most likely, or 8-8. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's the most realistic way if they play like they did yesterday.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, but before we go, try to answer this Halloween joke. What do you call a vampire that lives in a kitchen? Find out when we come back. Welcome back to Sports Bar. Before we took a break, we had a Halloween joke for you. What do you call a vampire that lives in a kitchen? Count Spatula. Guys, I think that's some pretty good writing there from the producers. What do you think?
No doubt.
No doubt. Quality Halloween joke. But moving on from one joke to another, my fantasy football team, wow. going to pick up another L this week, most likely. Probably going to lose by about 40. LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles were a late scratch for me. That really hurt. I considered picking up someone else in free agency, but I didn't think it was worth the risk in case they did play, and it certainly did bite me. But we'll go quickly to the scoreboard here for fantasy football. And like I said, I am getting beaten down right now by Carlin, 100-52. Greg, you and Sam are locked in a pretty good one, 106-94. Jack and Rob, well, Jack's landed to Rob pretty good as well, 84-54. And in a matchup of kind of the irrelevance, Adam Witten is beating Joey 60-46.
Right,
but we'll go ahead and move on to the individual matchups here. And looking at this is Rob and Jack. Guys, as I ask always, what do you see here in the matchup that has allowed Jack to be successful, and what's kind of let down Rob here?
Well, just a frightful display from Rob's defense there. I mean, just not sweet. I mean, all tricks there. All treats for Jack too. I mean, just not a good display. He went with the Eagles. Not a good choice. Not a good choice now that you look at it. Also went with Carson Wentz. I mean, Jack went with Russell Wilson. So Rob definitely wins the QB battle, but just, I mean, not the production you're looking for from your quarterback.
And it's odd to see this matchup having the two quarterbacks, frankly, both being such kind of an insignificant part of what allowed one or the other to be successful.
Sort of trick or treat with that Eagles defense. He definitely got the trick.
Yeah, definitely. -2 there for Philadelphia. But it looks like Jack will improve his record to 5-3, and Rob will drop to 5-3. We'll move on to the next matchup. And this is Team Witten. This is Adam Witten and Joey's matchup. And I already kind of mentioned somewhat a matchup of kind of obscurity here. But what'd you see out of this? Bortles with 29, but it ended up being almost over half his points. So what do you make of that?
Still can't get over how he still has Adrian Peterson in his running back slot.
Yeah,
It's been so long.
He's looking out for his possible return, even though he's not supposed to. Maybe on the off chance that he does.
Take him out of the lineup.
Hey, you can't lose him to free agency, man. If he does come back, he's a valuable asset.
Yeah. In the summer league of the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks like if this holds up, Adam Witten will get his first win of the season to improve to 1-7, and Joey
Beretti or something.
Yeah, I know. We should hand out a trophy. Joey Beretti most likely will fall to 2-6. I mean, it's not decided, but if that holds up, then that will be how the cookie crumbles. We'll move on here to our third matchup. This was my game. This was me and Carlin, and 100-52 guys. I already mentioned it that as far as my two running backs, they were both questionable. I set my lineup, I believe, on Friday for the week, and they were late scratches for both of their games, and that definitely cost me because I didn't want to take out a guy like McCoy who's been on fire this year, because even if he was questionable, I thought, well, who knows? He might still be able to drop 30. He did that, I believe, last week or 2 weeks ago when he was quote unquote questionable.
You're making a lot of excuses.
Well, hey, I'm trying to give my reasonings here for only having 52 points. I was also very Packers heavy this week. I had 3 different Packers receivers, and I still got Blair Walsh to play. I don't think he'll get me 48 points to tie it up. Unless that's some kind of crazy, unless that's some kind of crazy record year or record game. So most likely, I will unfortunately fall to 4-4, and Carlin will improve to 5-3. Really, after those first 3 weeks, it's somewhat been a downhill slide for me. But we'll see if I can't pull it out here in the latter part of the season. And moving on here to our final matchup, Greg, this was your and Sam's matchup here, and taking a further look, Sam has the edge, and as it stands, I guess this matchup is over because Sam is the only thing. He's the only person to have anything left to play. Is that the Minnesota D?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has the Minnesota D, so you're just going to pad your win at this point. Sam,
Hopefully,
gloat, how do you feel?
Assuming the Chicago Bears don't come out and have the game of their franchise history,
Yeah.
I should pick up the win here. You guys gave me some trouble about it earlier, going with the Patriots lineup today or this weekend. I chose to start Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady. It's a luxury to have two of those players, but it's also a curse. You never know who's going to post better. Tom Brady got me 29 points on the bench, and I was really hesitant.
It ended up being a good choice.
I was really impressed that Aaron Rodgers could get 33 points. But I mean, just solid numbers all the way around. Julian Edelman finally actually starts producing for me. But
I think it was just a pretty incredible week for you. I mean, I have to say, I think my team did a fair job this week, but just compared to the numbers you were putting up, I mean, just about every single position, you had some players that were doing absolutely incredible on the field. I mean, Gronkowski, didn't he break a record last night? I mean, he had an incredible game as well.
Honestly, it seems like Gronk flirts with some record of one or another every single season, just because this gets talked about a ton, but there really isn't anyone like him, and there really hasn't been before. But Greg, yes, it hurts. It stings to take a loss. But you've had a very good season to this point. You were 6-1 coming into this game. So if you are going to fall, like you said, unless Chicago has some kind of crazy game to 6-2, I think being 6-2 is
you win
okay.
some, you lose some.
You do. You win some, you lose some. And you've been winning more than you've been losing. So I think that'll be a good thing for you in the future. But I'm going to make a decree. I'm going to try very hard to pull out a win next week because I do not think I can stomach having a losing record. 500 I can kind of be okay with for right now, but I cannot fall to 4-5. So we'll see next week if I can get that done. Thank you for joining us this candy corny Halloween special of Sports Bar. I'm Travis Stanley. Join us next week for an all-new episode. Have a scary and safe Halloween. Good night.